Hello, our next part of our discussion is about the constructor. So what is a constructor? We're talking about constructor at the same time. Of course, now there are different types of way of using the constructor. We have the constructor with the parameter and without a parameter. But again, if you write a program in Java, Java will provide you a constructor. Every time that you have a constructor, it will what you call this call the object. And every time you create the object, there is a constructor. Always remember that the name of the constructor is the same name with your class name. For example, I will write here a program with a default constructor. For example, I will class name. Okay. At the same time, of course, I will write a program that will call, of course, the default constructor. You can tap, you can create your own placement of the code as long as you're following, of course, the syntax of Java. Arrangement is not a problem. Okay. And let's say public static void main string ergs. Okay. And then this is where you provide, you put, of course, your field members of the program, the methods. Later on, we discussed that at the same time, the field members of the class, the instance of the class, the instance of the object, and of course, the instance of the methods and what, and so on and so forth. So this is the main program, the class main. All right. So if you want to create your constructor, okay, we can use this area, okay, to create our constructor. How to do that? Let's say we have your public main, and this will serve as your what? As your constructor. Okay, now let us move this thing and move this at the bottom of the class because we are using one program, one main program. Therefore, if you compile this, it will become what? Main.java. Okay, main point. Do not be confused. No, this is about syntax on how to use the OOP. So you have here, of course, let's say I will create a program here, but again, you can put this public main at the top if you want. No, but here I'll in programming, I think there's a placement of the syntax that, of course, the order of the of putting, of course, the constructors and other field members of the class, it will put at the bottom. But in other online tools editor, you can use it at the top or in the bottom. Okay, but now I'll put it at the bottom. Okay, so here I will create a constructor. This is a parameterized type of constructor. We don't have here the constructor yet, right? We have the constructor, but again, we don't have the parameter. Okay, what if we create the parameter right here? For example, the attributes would print only the number. Let's say private. So what's the purpose of private? That is your data classifier. The private there will be accessed only within the class. So we have the private, we have the public, we have the protected. Okay, but this time we need to use private because the content of the variable will be displayed only inside the class or the main class. Okay, this can be accessed inside the class for the main class. For example, private int, and then we have the power equals to 10. Okay, so this is now an instance variable for the main class. If you put the variable right here, it's no longer instance variable but a static variable. Okay, this is the main program. Now I am putting, of course, this constructor here. So therefore, I will create a constructor, okay, that has, a parameter. So the parameter will be power also. What will be, of course, your instance variable here, of course, because your purpose here is to display and to return the value of the power, that is 10. Okay, what will happen? Okay, maybe there is a default value right here at the top. Later on, we can use our own value, okay? So, what happened? Okay, you see that we have here the parameter here, integer power, and it has the same name to the instance variable at the top. This is a correct, statement. Okay. The next part is we need to use this function, this property. What's the purpose of this? This is property refers to the current, object. So the current object is, of course, the power, and the value is 10. Okay. This point power equals to power. What's the purpose of this? So the purpose of this is we need to return any numbers that represents the power to the main code. This is the main code. Okay. So this is where we start the public static void main and end the public static void main. What happened here? So we used, of course, the main class and covered everything because this is part of the main class, main class program. Okay. Now, I will now call this program, okay, right here. Okay. So the constructor is very simple. The attribute is power that represents any value. At the same time, we declare the power at the top. Okay. It's all right. We have the default value. Again, we can erase this value. This is just like we are demonstrating What is the significance of using the constructor? You create the object at the same time, you create the constructor. The constructor initializes the object. All right. So let's do this. Let's say, what is the main class? The main class is main. That is the name of the class. So that's how we now instantiate the object and to call the constructor. The purpose of constructor again is to initialize the object. So I will write here my name, Arnold. This is the name of the object. You can write your name if you want. What is the indicator that you have the constructor? You push the new reserved word new, and then you put their name. As you can see, no, we have here, of course, the main class. Again, the rules of creating the class is not main, but again, I am writing to the Programmist Online Editor, and it is imperative for the compiler to use the main. Okay, main class. You can write your own name if you want. But here, what will happen? We need to provide now, of course, the constructor. Okay. How to use the constructor here? How to initialize. Therefore, we need to provide any value. So what will happen? This value will be superseded by this value. Okay. I'm just putting the force default value here for for a decoy. Okay. Now we need to run the program. Okay. So we have the program for the main class. We have the calling program. At the same time, this is where we end of main class. Okay, that's it. This is the calling program, and this is, of course, the constructor. Okay, let us run the code. Now, as you can see, we don't have the output right here because we haven't print yet, of course, the instance variable. So therefore, we need to print the instance variable. This represents now, of course, any value that will return in the program. This 100, it represents, of course, the integer. So I just put the value right here, just like a decoy. But again, we can erase that. It's not a problem. So if you want to print that program, you need to call system.out.println at the same time. What is the name of the object? The object now, it inherits, of course, the field members of the class name power. And Arnold now, it can access now the instance variable from the main class. So the value is 10. Okay, I will use Arnold. And then Arnold has the access to the field members of the main class. And then I call the power here. So the value of power here is 100. What will happen to this power? This will be what? Eclipsed by this value, 100. Okay, let us print the program here. Okay, so the answer is 100. Now, if you will erase this value, okay, it's not a problem because for one thing, well, that's part of the process wherein you only you have the freedom and you have the liberty to write your own value right here. Okay, let us run the code right here. If I say 40, okay, what will happen? So there you have 40. Now in OOP can be OOP, what you call this? One of the purposes of OOP is that you can reuse the first statement in the different phases of the code. So if the question right now is, can I create another constructor? Yes, but in another object. Okay. Let's say we have another here, main. And I'll put here, of course, the name of sturdy equals to new main. I'll put of course, the value of the constructor. Initialize it, of course. I will put 56. Okay, there you have it. So how many objects do we have? We have Arnold and sturdy. So as you can see, we initialized 2 objects, and we instantiated 2 objects using, of course, the class main. So the purpose of this is to return with the value of this power. Remember, the public here main. This is the constructor with parameter. The question is, can you write codes here? Of course, you can write codes here for your for the purpose of the program. You can even validate this power. You can increment this power. At the same time, you can get, of course, the mean, median, mode of this power. It depends to the requirement. Okay. What will happen? We need again to print this object sturdy. What happened? Of course, we call now sturdy here. So the value of sturdy is totally different because that's how we declare the value of 56 in our constructor. Let us run the program. Okay, so there is a wrong spelling, so we need to put sturdy. Okay, we have the output of 40 and 56. Now let us review what happened here. We create a first class name. We have our classifier right here. Integer power. The purpose of this can be accessed inside only the main class. But again, I will remind you that this public main, this can be put, of course, at the top of the program, at the top of this one. But ours is because we're using the Programmist Online IDE, we can put this constructor at the bottom. Okay. At the same time, we have two objects, Arnold and Stordy. They are part now, or son or daughter of main. And we create, of course, our constructor here, and we provide one parameter that is the representations of any number. So this power of objects right now, this represents now the number of 1456. So how to access this power? We need to use the instantiated object, that's Arnold and Stordy, and we use the period to access it, because we have now the power to access these field members that it is owned by the main class. Okay, that's it.